Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today. We are covering another very important Cricut Design Space tutorial, and today we are setting up our custom cut settings. So guys, this is one you don't want to miss. Alright guys, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and what we're looking at is just a blank canvas, and there are two ways to access the, to be able to set up a custom material. And the most common one is, when you click over to make it and you get to your presets, you can add a custom material that way. But I'm going to show you a shorter way. Over on the left-hand side in your little icon for your menu, you can scroll down and go to Manage Custom Materials. Now I'm just going to select my Air 2 because that is what I commonly cut on from Cricut Design Space. And once it's connected, you'll see that it gives me a list of all the materials that I can cut. Okay. Now, of course, there are the dial settings because the Explorer Air 2 does have a dial. And then here's the custom materials. So if you're using an Air 2, you switch the dial to custom, and then you have access to all these materials here. All right, so super exciting stuff to find out, and it's also kind of cool just to be able to scroll through, and this may even give you some ideas of projects or materials that you want to try to cut with your Cricut because you see that the presets are already in here. All right, but what we're going to talk about today is the ability to set up our own custom material. You can also edit these presets by clicking edit, and it will allow you to come in here and change these. I don't like to do that. I don't like to edit the materials because there are a lot of times that you'll run across a new material and the manufacturer will say, this is the setting that cuts good on your Cricut. And if you have come in here and made modifications to that, then that may get confusing. So instead, I do like to set up my own custom material settings. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go all the way down. Add new material. Now, every time I set up my own custom, I start that name off with custom. Now, for this one in particular, one that I know that I always have to set up a custom material for is custom leatherette. So I'm going to type save. And now this is where I can come in here and I can set whatever settings I think are best. Now, for custom leatherette, I know that I'm going to go all the way to 350. I do only need one pass, and I can cut this with the fine point blade. So all I have to do here is click save. Now you can see that I had actually already done that, so now I have I have two custom leatherette settings. But that's really easy to fix too because I can choose edit and I can delete one of them. So now I'm back down to one. But I like using custom because that kind of gives me, and you don't have to use custom. Some people use a different keyword, but that is my favorite keyword to use. Now another one, just to show you again what I'll do, I'm going to add new material and I will say custom sticker paper and then I'll say kiss cut. So I can hit save, and a kiss cut, and maybe I need to put that a little, because I do want to be able to see that. So why don't we see custom kiss cut sticker paper. And I know that for a kiss cut, I want to be at 185. And still, I don't need a double cut. Now, the multiple passes, that's going to be for your thicker materials, okay? A lot of times, especially if you're using a fine point blade, you're not using a knife blade or anything like that. A fine point blade can cut through thicker materials, but sometimes you need multiple passes. This is common for acetate sheets. This is common for, craft foam and glitter paper, things like that that are thicker, but you're still cutting with a fine point blade. But for this one, I don't need that. I'm going to do 185 and click save. And last but not least, we will set up custom full cut sticker paper. And for a full cut, I'm going to need 275, and just like that. Now, let me show you why I like to use the custom. So I can select any shape I want. Here, we'll just select a leatherette earring. So I'm just going to go through the process like this is something that I'm going to cut. I'm going to select my Air 2. Now I do have my dial set to custom. And instead of choosing a preset here, I'm going to go to Browse All Materials. And then under Search Materials, I'm going to type in Custom. And it gives me the list of the 3 custom settings that I have set up. And I just find that easier. If I can remember that this is a custom setting that I have set up, then I can come in here and find it this way. Now, just in case I don't remember that I used a custom setting, for example, if I'm looking for sticker paper, you'll see that there are the presets here. So if I type in sticker, it'll show me, oh wait, I have custom settings here. Maybe I should use those. Okay. Now, setting up custom materials is not a substitute for performing a small test cut with your machine. All right, because just like you would with a regular preset, you still want to test these out because, in case you haven't noticed, as your blade wears or minor differences in your material can affect the way that your machine cuts. So just always account for those small variances and save yourself the headache and make sure that you're doing a test cut. You can also set up favorites. Okay, so if we come in here to All Materials, this little star pops up and we can select our favorites. So then this should be our favorites here, and you have these materials that you can select. Okay, so a few different ways. You can leave it on popular, you can go to Browse All Materials and find them that way, or you can set up your favorites and have them here for you. Okay. Now let's talk about a few other things that you may want to do this for. For example, if you go to Browse All Materials and we're going to type in vinyl, you'll notice that there are presets for all the different types of vinyl. But if you have a specific brand that you cut all the time, and these presets can be confusing because they all say premium vinyl texture, premium vinyl shimmer. These are set up for Cricut branded vinyl. Okay. Now, for the most part, I use just the premium vinyl or the premium outdoor vinyl, and I do that little test cut, make sure it's good, and then I cut my setting. But just in case all of this can be overwhelming for you, if you come in here and you find out what settings they're at, let me show you how we do that. If you go down to Material Settings, you'll come back to your custom materials. All right, find which one works for you. So, for example, vinyl. I don't want to hit edit, but I just want to make note that it's 171, a regular cut, and a fine point blade. So then if I scroll all the way back down to the bottom, I can add a new material, and we will say Oracle 651 adhesive vinyl. I'm going to choose save, and I'm just going to set this up, and there's our Oracle 651 adhesive vinyl. Now I missed a step, because I still want to add custom in front of that, just to remind myself that that's a setting that I selected. Okay, and then I can do the same thing, like all of my heat transfer vinyl for the brand that I use goes under Iron On Plus. So that's cutting at 203. So I can come down here to the bottom, add a new material, and I just want to select 203 and hit save. So now we've just added a few more to our little custom arsenal. So when I type in custom, there are my custom settings. Now the only thing I wish I knew how to set these up to reflect the name. Because they're materials that we put in, they just say my materials here instead of being descriptive like they are here. But still, it's nice to know that we have those custom settings available. So that should wrap up the why and how of setting up your own custom materials, not only for custom materials, but also for some of your favorites, and take away some of that confusion just in case you like to use the custom dial on your Explorer Air 2. And also, this is really useful for using your Maker. Your Maker works exactly the same way, and you can set up all the custom settings that you need for all your different materials. So guys, how did you feel about setting up your custom cut settings in Cricut Design Space? Super exciting, right? Probably not. I mean, I know it's not the most exciting thing you're going to do with your Cricut, but it is very, very powerful knowledge, and it will make your cutting process a whole lot simpler if you have those custom cut settings ready for you. So, of course, if you have any questions, make sure you leave those below. If there's anything else you want to see, you have any video requests, I always love to hear from you guys. And of course, make sure you take a quick minute, subscribe to the channel, because that's what keeps our little channel going, so we can keep bringing you all these wonderful crafting videos, right? So guys, again, I appreciate it. I really do every time you stop by. And hey, we'll see you again next time.